Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we are doing a monthly wrap up and we are talking about every single book that I read in the month of May. May was honestly one of the better reading months I've had this year, one of the best actually. I read a total of 11 books in the month of May. I have all of them here with me. One of them I read on Kindle. I recently realized that my physical TBR is humongous and I need to work on it. So this month I really focused on getting through my physical TBR. I did a really good job. I read 10 books from my physical TBR and then one of them I got on my Kindle because it was a buddy read with my friends and I couldn't find the book anywhere. Like I didn't have it and also none of the German bookstores have it, so. But I would say my book buying ban is still going on, right? Did I break it if I borrowed it on my Kindle? No, I've been very responsible. I really am trying to get through my physical TBR, especially like this summer, because there's so many new books that I want to buy and read, okay? But every time I turn around and I look at my bookshelf, I'm like, there's at least 100 books on here that I have not read. The last time I counted, it was 108 or 110, something like that, and that is not good. It's not okay. We are working on it, okay? Which is why I am on a book buying ban. It hurts, but it's good for my wallet. Anyway, so without further ado, let's get into just imagine another book on here, okay? Because this is only 10. But let's start talking about all of these books. This month has definitely been a roller coaster in terms of books I've read and like my ratings and my experiences with them, because we have some 1 stars. I don't think we have a 5-star. We do not. We have a 4-star. So I don't know what's been going on, but I have not been able to find like a really life-changing 5-star read these past few months. The last 5-star I remember was, actually I have 2. I think I've had 2 5-stars this whole year. Are we serious right now? Okay, I just checked. We are halfway through 2026 and I've only had 3 5-stars this year. And I wouldn't consider myself that picky. Okay, I just want you to change my life, basically. Okay, my expectations are high, yes, but like last year I read the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy and every single book was 5 stars. It was amazing. It changed my life. Okay, I still think about it every single day. And I don't know what happened this year. Is it me, or am I just reading mediocre books, or am I reading amazing books and I'm just not seeing it? I don't know what's going on, but the only 5 stars I've had this year, the first one, it's The Penderwicks on Garden Street, which is a children's book. This year I really wanted to reread that series. I read it when I was younger and I also listened to it because my parents got it for me on CD, so I had this like big CD player and I would play it like over and over again and I would listen to it all the time. And I was like, wait, how fun would it be to just revisit that series as an adult? Oh, I can't believe I'm an adult. Oh, and oh my god. Oh, I just got goosebumps. Anyway, and just read it again. Is it the first one or the second one? I don't know. The Penderwicks on Garden Street. I think it's the second one. Sorry. I don't know why I was just so confused. But I gave it 5 stars just because it was so nostalgic and it was so nice to just like escape reality and like go back to the Penderwicks on Garden Street, okay? I just love that little family and those sisters and just that world, and I miss it. And then the next book I gave 5 stars I also read in January, and it's Hell, Dream, and Nothing in Between by BP. Girl, that book genuinely changed my life and changed the way I see the world and changed the way I think about everything and just changed me as a person. I'm not going to get into it right now because I read the book in January and we're talking about all the books I read in May, which we still have yet to do. I still have not started talking about them. I would highly recommend that book. I'm going to talk about it in another video, maybe like my top 10 books of the year or something. And then the other one was not Release Me. Hello, it was Watch Me, which Todd Mafi is doing it again, and I bet you once I read Release Me, that'll be another 5 stars, so I'm excited. Anyway, let's start talking about the books I read in May. The first book I read in May is Fair Play by Louise Hegarty. I'm not sure how to say her last name. This book is about a group of friends who go to an Airbnb for New Year's Eve, and it's also one of the characters' birthday on January 1st, so they're celebrating New Year's Eve and his birthday together, and his sister decided to throw him a murder mystery themed birthday party, and so they're celebrating and having a good time, yada yada yada, and then the next morning they wake up and Benjamin, the birthday boy, is dead. This is not a spoiler, this is all in the blurb, and basically it has to be one of them. And then this detective shows up. Like, a lot of the chapters are from the detective's POV, if I remember correctly. I don't know, I know I read this last month, but I truly don't remember. Sorry. This entire book is in 3rd person, but some chapters switch between the characters. And listen, I don't know. I had high hopes for this. Well, not really high hopes, but I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun. I gave it 1 star. I didn't understand the ending at all. I'm not going to give you any spoilers, don't worry, this video is spoiler free. I don't know, it was just so confusing, and sometimes the detective would reference the chapters, like he would break the 4th wall. He would be talking to another character and then he'd say, in chapter 23, we did this and that. What? I don't know, I was just so confused by the entire thing, and I'm very sad and disappointed because I do love the cover and I thought it was going to be interesting. So this one, unfortunately, did not meet my expectations in any way, shape, or form. I was just left feeling very confused and disappointed. So that was a 1 star for me, unfortunately. The average rating for this book was 2.4 stars on Goodreads, and I was so surprised because I didn't know anything about this book going into it, and then halfway through, I was just so confused, but I wanted to update my Goodreads, and I go to the book and I see that the average rating is 2.4. So I'm glad I wasn't alone with this, which is a shame, honestly. The next book I read is Bad Summer People by Emma Rosenblum. I got this book last summer at the Trident bookstore in Boston because it was on sale. So I was like, oh, this looks so fun. And there is nothing I love more than reading about a rich group of friends who are spending their summer on an island, and then there's drama or something happens, or murder happens, or mystery, or just anything. I live and breathe that sort of thing. I just love reading about that. It's just so fun if it's done right. Also, I love this cover. So this book is about an adult group of friends who spend their summers on Fire Island every single year with all of their families, their kids. Basically, it's the typical rich people stuff. They have a tennis club, they go out for drinks every night, they gossip, but then a body is found. The first chapter kind of opens with someone finding the body, but we don't know who the body belongs to, and then the entire book kind of leads up to who dies and then how they die and what happens. I was so excited for this. I was really enjoying it at first because, again, that New England rich vibe I love. There was not a single redeemable character in this book. Not one of them was worth rooting for. I tried liking them, but it didn't work. I don't even remember how it ended. It was very underwhelming in my opinion. So I give this book 2 stars. The average rating for this one is a 3.4 on Goodreads. So basically it says on the back, stylish, subversive, and darkly comedic, this is a story of what's lurking under the surface of picture-perfect lives in a place where everyone has something to hide. So, there's drama, there's gossip, everyone has secrets, but I didn't like any of the characters. I hate when I read a book and I'm not rooting for anyone. Everyone was just shitty. Everyone was a bad person in some way. Again, a shame because I feel like the concept was good and the cover is beautiful, but it just wasn't for me. Moving on to the next book, which is The Obsession by Jessie Q. Sutanto. The cover basically says what it's about. Boy meets girl, boy stalks girl, girl gets revenge. This book follows Logan and Delilah, and on the back it says, Logan thinks he and Delilah are meant to be. Delilah doesn't know who Logan is. Logan believes no one knows Delilah like he does. He makes sure of it by learning everything he can, watching her through a hidden camera. Some might call him a stalker. Logan prefers to be called romantic. Delilah's keeping secrets though, deadly ones. There's so much more to her than meets the eye. Logan is determined to make Delilah the heroine in his twisted fantasy, and he'll do anything to get what he wants. Delilah is done with the men in her life controlling her. If Logan won't let her go, she'll make him. Very fun plot. I was looking forward to this because who does not love a strong female main character? To be honest, at first I could not get into it at all, but then as we progressed, I got invested more and more and more. And honestly, this book made me feel a lot. I felt a lot of rage at times because of what was happening. You would have to read it to understand what I mean, but some stuff he was doing just made me want to rip the book apart and scream. But obviously that was well written by the author because the character is supposed to agitate the reader and the reader is supposed to hate him, you know what I mean? So well done, I guess. You succeeded. I remember feeling like the ending was a bit rushed, and I also didn't realize that this was the first book in a series. Going into this, I thought it was a standalone. I don't know what the next book is about, if it's about different people or if it's just a continuation of the story. But overall, this wasn't bad. It delivered what it promised, and it was pretty entertaining. But again, I feel like the ending was a bit rushed, and it left me feeling a bit unfulfilled because I wanted to know more. It was just so fast, and I was like, wait, I wanted to know more about this. But I gave this 3 stars. The next book might be a bit of a surprise because I'm like, what? 5 years late, but I read The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I feel like most of Book Talk has already read this or they know what it's about. I was late. I've had this since 2021. I don't know, I just never read it. But basically this is fake dating. The two main characters are co-workers and the girl desperately needs a date to her sister's wedding in Spain. And so he's like the very grumpy guy. I don't know, is it Grumpy in Sunshine? But he's just like, you know, very cold. He's like a hard worker. And then he's like, I'll go with you. And then you know what happens from there. I mean, it's predictable, but it's still entertaining. She needs a date to her sister's wedding because she's been telling her family that she has a boyfriend, which is not the truth. Even on the back, he's described as, oh my god. Even Aaron Blackford, the 6'4", blue-eyed pain in the ass, arse. Never has there been a more aggravating, blood-boiling, and insufferable man. Duh! Is an enemies to lovers fake dating romance. Period. Enemies to lovers fake dating, Stevie Slow Burn, happy ever after. I did end up liking this more than I thought I would. It was just very entertaining and it was predictable, but it was fun, you know? So I gave this one 3.5 stars. I'm a bit sad because I feel like I would have enjoyed this book more if I read it when it came out, because back then I was like really into these kinds of books, like typical, predictable, fun, entertaining romances. I mean, it went viral on like Prime Book Talk and I got it then. I feel like back then I probably would have given this 5 stars. I'm glad I finally read it 5 years later. Oh my god, it's raining. It's actually pouring. Wow. Oh, perfect. I love me a good reading weather. Oh, wait, yes. I'm gonna finish this and then I'm gonna read. The next book I read in May is The Plot by Jean Hanff Korelitz. This book is a psychological thriller about a struggling writer, Jake, who is teaching an MFA program. And one of Jake's students, Evan, I think? Yes, Evan. He's his most arrogant student and he's like, I'm actually not telling anyone about my idea for a novel because it is gonna blow up and be a hit. And Jake's like, sure, whatever. Like a lot of writers say that. But then he hears the plot. Evan tells him what his story is gonna be about. And Jake is like, oh my god, he's right. Like, this is gonna be insane. But then, guess what happens? Evan dies without ever completing his book. And then Jake is like, well, I have to do what every brilliant writer would do. And I'm gonna steal his idea and write the book. And when he does, the book completely blows up. And Evan was right. It literally became a worldwide sensation. People were reading it all over the world. Jake is a famous author now. But then, as his success grows, he starts receiving anonymous messages accusing him of plagiarizing. Not even plagiarism, just theft. Straight up theft, basically. And stealing Evan's idea. And he's like, oh my god, how is this happening? Because Evan was always very secretive. He never wanted to tell anyone about his idea. It was very good. I loved it. I gave this 4 stars. It was just... I have never in my life read anything like this before. I thought the story, the plot was so interesting. This was just very well written. I don't know how else to say it. Like, it was just very good. I don't remember why I didn't give it 5 stars. I guess it just didn't have like that 5-star feeling. The ending was insane. I did predict what was gonna happen and I felt very proud of myself. I was like... But yeah, I really enjoyed this. There's like so much that gets discovered as Jake starts receiving these anonymous messages and he starts kind of like investigating that entire thing and also Evan's past and everything. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, what? Who even comes up with this? Like, this is insane. I'm not gonna say anything because I'm gonna spoil it, but I did predict part of the ending, but the other part was insane. I didn't expect the book to end that way and I was like, wait, what? Is this actually happening? Like, I just feel I don't know what to feel. What's going on? I would definitely recommend it to you if you are into thrillers like this. And then the next book I read is The Sequel by Jean Hanff Korelitz. The title already says it. It's the sequel to this book right here. Although I loved this book, let me hold your hand when I say this, a sequel was not needed. Ooh, I'm sorry. I just personally feel like the sequel was really not necessary. I didn't enjoy this as much as I did the first one because this one also follows a different main character. I can't really say too much about them or you're kind of gonna get spoiled for the first book, but I gave this 2 stars. I don't know, I feel like this was just a bit all over the place. I listened to this book on audiobook and there were just moments where I literally had to pause it. I had to rewind, even though like I listened and I heard what they said, but I had to just rewind to make sure I wasn't hearing things. Like, I was like, what is going on right now? What is happening? Regardless, these are the first books I've read by this author and she's just a very talented writer. I ate up the first one and I left a lot of crumbs with the second one. That was so stupid. Then we have Psycho Shifters by Jasmine Mass. Jasmine actually sent me this book back when it came out and I don't know why it took me so long to read it, okay? Apparently I love buying books or getting books and then reading them 5 years later. What? I need to work on that. I seriously do. How do I even describe this? This book is, I would say, a dark fantasy romance about a young girl named Sadie who discovers that she's a powerful shifter and she's sent to a military style training program so she can become stronger because she didn't have any like training experience in the past. This book starts out the way a lot of fantasy books do, with the FMC living a horrible life. She's living in the slums. She's so fragile and weak and she has to provide for her family, and then something happens and kaboom kablow, you know? But basically in that program she has to like train and survive like deadly challenges. The back says, quote unquote, all I have to do is survive training at a war camp, but I didn't count on my 3 6'5" alpha roommates. Covered in tattoos, jeweled, and horned, these are like no men I've ever dealt with before. Horned. You heard that right. And basically those roommates kind of like, they doubt her abilities. They're like, whatever, you're so weak, ha 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 ha, until they learn more about her and her past and why she is the way she is. So before you read this, I would definitely look up the trigger warnings for this because it does deal with some heavy topics. I feel like it was entertaining. I gave it 3 stars. After I finished this, I had to laugh out loud. I literally LOL'd, okay? I laughed out loud because I was like, what did I just read? There's like 3 more books in the series, which I do want to read. However, I want to listen to them because that's just easier for me. It was definitely spicier than I expected. Maybe I just didn't like research the book enough, because then once I went on Goodreads, everyone was saying that it was spicy and like that they knew about it. So that's on me. It was mostly just about Sadie and those 3 alpha males and not so much about like the actual fantasy world as much as I would have liked. However, the ending here was a cliffhanger that made me feel very intrigued, and I do want to read the next book. I just don't know when I will. But basically there was like fantasy world, her relationship with those 3 guys, you know, complications, living life, yada yada yada, and then the ending was also a bit of fantasy world. So I'm hoping we get more of that in the next books. 3 stars for Sadie and her 3 alpha male roommates with horns. Not all of them have horns, okay? It's just one of them. And then the next book I read is Never Ever Getting Back Together by Sophie Gonzalez. I actually really love this cover, and I knew nothing about this book going into it, okay? Nothing, 0. I didn't read the blurb. I don't know why I didn't. I saw the cover and I was like, yep, let's read it. You know what the worst part is? I would have known what the book was about if I just read these 2 lines up here. And I didn't. I just looked at the cover. I was like, yep. I don't know how I didn't even see this. This book follows 18-year-old Maya, whose boyfriend cheated on her 2 years ago, and now he is famous. He is famous because his sister married the crown prince of a small European country, and now he's like the charming younger brother. The entire world knows him. The entire world loves him. But then one day she gets a call, and Jordy, the cheating ex, is inviting all of his exes to a reality TV show because he wants to find the one to restart their romance, rekindle their romance, I don't know. And at first she's like, what the heck? Like, obviously I'm not going. Why would I go? But then she's like, oh, I could go to kind of get my revenge because I could show the whole world what a cheating liar Jordy really is. So she's like, okay, bet, I'm gonna go now. Basically, 2 18-year-old girls, one is there for revenge, the other one is open to rekindling the romance with Jordy. They get kind of tangled up in an unexpected twist because guess what? Hold my hand when I say this, they fall in love with each other. And for the people who read the blurb, or for the people who read the 2 sentences on the front cover, they would know that that was gonna happen. But I didn't, and I was reading it, I was like, oh my god, how is this gonna go? I genuinely thought that the book was gonna end with Maya getting her revenge, kind of, and like exposing Jordy to the world, and then, you know, she's happy and she's made friends for life. It ended in an even better way because Maya and Sky fell for each other, and basically that's what the book is about. That's not a spoiler, it's on the cover, okay? But you can imagine my surprise when I kind of start understanding what's happening, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I really enjoyed this. This was quite fun and entertaining. I gave this 3 stars. The only issue I had was that Sky and Maya were so similar. Like, we switched between their POVs throughout the book. More often than I would like to admit, I had no idea whose POV we were in because they were just so similar, and that was kind of like, I could barely tell them apart, and I didn't really like that. At the end of the book, I was like, wait, I can't believe they're 18. I thought they were like mid-20s. So that was a bit, that was crazy. Overall, a very cute story, very fun. The characters were just too similar for my liking. We're almost there, guys. We have 3 more books to go, and then we are done. The next book I read is Love Goes Viral by 3 authors, actually. This was written by Camille Stockage, Alexander Berman, and Estelle Lohr. This was very, very YA, which I should have expected. The female main character's name is actually Love, and she goes viral. So basically, it's always been her dream to kind of like dance and sing and act and do all of that, and then she goes viral because of a funny but unexpected situation at her graduation, and now she has 50 million followers, brand deals, a Hollywood address. She kind of has this fast track to the music career she's always dreamed of because she really wants to be a singer. But then she takes the blame for her influencer boyfriend's very stupid mistake, and it kind of goes downhill for her from there. I'm kind of just reading from the back because I don't really know how to explain this. The fallout goes even more viral than the video that made her famous in the first place, but even though she's technically innocent, she's already losing sponsorships. So now Love really needs to change and improve her image to get back everything she lost through the fallout, and the perfect solution to that is to date someone who's kind and innocent and awesome. That's where the male main character comes in, Austin Gray, and he's like not on social media. He's helping out his family with their diner, which is also struggling, and then they basically start fake dating to improve her image. I feel like I really didn't explain this in a good way, but I enjoyed it. It was fun. It wasn't very memorable. I really have nothing more to say other than that. It was very, very YA. The ending was also a bit abrupt. I wish there was kind of more to that. It's like the stereotypical YA book. So yeah, 3 stars. And then the second to last book I read is Husbands and Lovers by Beatrice Williams. I got this from a free little library. I don't know. I always mess this up. Last summer, and I finally got to read it. I read it on vacation last week because the cover was giving very much vacation. This was not what I expected at all. Again, should have read the blurb. This book is a historical fiction, and we're following 2 women who live in different timelines. One of them is in New England in 2022, and the other one is in Egypt in 1951. And their lives are connected by family secrets and love stories. In 2022, Mallory is looking for a kidney for her sick son, and that sounded like 6'7". I don't know why. And while she's doing that, she uncovers a lot of mysteries about her past, while the other woman, Hannah, is facing a lot of very difficult choices and survival in 1951 after the Second World War. And with her, we also go into like her history and her past during the war as well. This was honestly very intriguing. I'm not sure if this is my first historical fiction or if I've read any. I don't think I've read anything like this before, but this was very, very interesting, and I really, really enjoyed this. At first, I didn't really understand what Hannah's timeline had to do with Mallory and her looking for a kidney for her son, because like there's a lot going on there, and I was like, what does Hannah have to do with all of this? But then as we progress, their timelines, like they don't get closer because they're very far apart, but like the connection between the women gets clearer, and like we understand what happened here. I also forgot to mention that Hannah is a Hungarian refugee, and we also learn more about her life in that regard. I gave this 3.5 stars. The writing was also very good, and I was definitely rooting for both of these women. I was very interested in their stories and I wanted to know more. And I remember the ending here was also very shocking, and I didn't expect that, but overall I just really enjoyed this. Reading this made me want to pick up more historical fiction, so I definitely will continue doing that this year. Where's my Kindle? And then last but not least, the last book I read in May was The Deal by Elle Kennedy. Listen, I know I'm late. I know the show just came out, and I want to read the book before I watch the show. So I still have not seen Off Campus. I know I'm late, and I have to avoid spoilers. I'm literally out here avoiding spoilers like this. They're everywhere, okay? I'm hiding. I was gonna buy this as a paperback, but I went to the bookstore here and I was like, hey, do you have The Deal in English? And they were like, no, Prime didn't tell the publisher, or like the publisher, there's something going on between the publishers here and Prime. So in Germany, the book is not gonna be available in English for like 6 more weeks, they said, or something. The entire series is not available in English, and I'm just like, Oh my god. I got this for 99 cents on Kindle, but the next books in the series are $10 for a book on Kindle. If I'm already paying that much, I want the physical copy, you know? I'm gonna try to use Libby, but then again on Libby, everyone and their mother wants to read this series now. But for those of you who don't know what this is about, this is a college romance about Hannah, a very smart student, and then Garrett, the star hockey player of the college. And they basically make a deal to help each other because Garrett needs to keep his grades up and he needs to pass a test, and she is going to tutor him in exchange for him to help her get closer to her crush. And then as they spend more time together, you know, the fake arrangement turns into real feelings. This is the book that I buddy read with my friends on vacation, and we all gave it 4 stars. We all enjoyed it. It was a bit predictable, but it was fun. I definitely am very excited for the show because I've heard so many good things about it. The only thing that really bothered me was the way all of the male characters were speaking about women in this book. I just... sometimes in a very like degrading way or like joking about them. Maybe I'm too woke, but no, I didn't like that. But yeah, other than that, it was a fun, cute, romantic story. I definitely want to read the other books in the series and read about the other couples because I have no idea who the other couples are besides Allie and Dean because I saw a spoiler on TikTok. So I wonder what happens with her and Sean. We're done. These are all of the books. I've yapped for way too long, but these are all of the books that I read in the month of May. I've talked for way too long. I need to drink like 10 gallons of water after this. My throat is so dry. I feel like this is gonna be a very long video of me just talking and talking and talking about books. I hope I explained them in a good way because I feel like with some books I didn't really do them justice, you know? I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you've read any of these books or how many books you read in the month of May and which ones were your favorites. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!